It wasn't me.
Listen to the bird.
You're literally the first one to.
Right, you're right.
All right, good evening and welcome to the City of Sunbury Council meeting. It is October 18th, 2023, 7:30 p.m. Would you please join me in a moment of silent prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance? Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Mayor St. John.
Here.
Mr. Capel.
Here.
Mr. Gus.
Here.
Mr. Neff.
Here.
Mr. Grumney.
Here.
Mr. Martin.
Here.
Mrs. Cooper. Here. 7 present.
All right, we had a meeting on October 4th, 2023. May I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Motion by Councilwoman Cooper,
Second?
second by Mr. Grumney. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Cooper. Yes. Mr. Grumney.
Yes.
Mr. Martin.
Yes.
Mr. Capel.
Yes.
Mr. Neff.
Yes.
Mayor St. John.
Yes.
Mr. Gus.
Yes.
7 yeas.
All right, we do have one scheduled visitor, Delaware Public Health District. Is it Haley or Hallie?
Haley.
Haley, welcome back. Ms. Burleson? Yeah,
We can pass him down.
thank you.
Hello, I'm Haley Burleson. So we have a levy coming up. It is a 0.7 mil levy. There's no increase. It's the same that it's been since 1984. Yeah, that's the big thing that we have going on. But if you have any questions, feel free to ask. This paper is pretty helpful synopsis about it.
Is it a renewal or a replacement?
Yeah, renewal. Yeah.
A renewal? Okay.
Yep.
Same mill as currently.
Yep.
Okay.
5 year?
That's a good question. I'm not sure.
Probably 5.
I believe so. That's what it has been in the past. I think per $100,000 assessed value of a home, it's about $17 a year is what that comes out to.
Mhm.
But
Do you have a sales pitch for us?
uh,
Why should we pass it?
Vote
I
yes.
don't know. I honestly am not sure what there's kind of like a conflict of it, like I can't say vote for this, but I can say this is what it is and provide education for it.
There you go.
But yeah.
Good training.
But just between us.
What happens if it doesn't pass? How about that? Let people know if it doesn't pass.
That's a great question. I mean, I think there could be potential layoffs, worst case scenario. I mean, things like we might not get a raise. That's probably like lower hanging fruit.
Yeah.
And then layoffs would be like the worst case scenario. And then any programs that, not all the programs that we do are grant funded.
Mhm.
So things that we're not receiving outside funds for, have potential to be cut that we're currently doing.
Well, it's impressive you've been working on the same budget for that many years, because that's not easy to do.
Yeah.
That's a lot of pencil and erasers and making that work. So,
Especially with cost of living a lot higher than it was 4 years ago.
right.
All right.
Great. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Are there any unscheduled visitors that would like to speak with council? All right. Good deal. We are on the committee reports. Mr. Gross, Fire Department?
Yes, fire report. We had a meeting last week. It's a regular monthly meeting and nothing major to report other than we did have the vote. The 4 parties voted. It was 3-1 to keep the main headquarters station right here in Sunbury. And the one vote for the
for no was, I mean, yes, for moving it would have been Galena. 2 townships and myself were yes, keeping it here based on the vote that we had in our last council meeting. So it'll stay here, and then we do have the architect RFQ out there. So we should in our next meeting have the results of that, and the planning and design will continue, and we're shooting for a May ballot issue. Delaware County has expressed interest in collaborating with us, sharing the space and some of the costs. So we're working through that as well. So we're pretty optimistic we can get it on the ballot in May.
Exciting.
And the EMS is 0.5% of sales tax. That's how they're funded. And that's the joint station that you're talking about potentially. Is it EMS or is it also sheriff's?
Just the EMS for now, yes. And then the location again is just on the other side, the northern side of Camping World. There's going to be actually a road that the North Star folks have to build there. I think they're going to do that here before May. An access road, I think it's called Lincoln Drive. And so the fire station would be on the other side, across the street.
Gotcha. All right. Thank you very much.
Yes,
Mr.
sir.
Grumman.
I have nothing to report. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Kaplan.
Yes, it's not exactly a services related update, but we did meet yesterday, the mayor and I with our CT team and Mr. Hennessy to review the 2024 street program. We're on an accelerated bit of a time frame here, trying to figure out what roads are going to be included in the plan. We've got another meeting scheduled for next week to catch it up. So hopefully we'll be ready to submit for OPWC at the beginning of November.
Excellent. Thank you for the update. Mrs. Cooper.
No committee reports tonight. There will be a zoning meeting October 23rd.
Great. Thank you.
Yep.
No committee report. All right, Mr. Neff.
Nothing to report.
All right. We did have a finance committee meeting. The finance committee met, primary topic was the 2024 budget. And I want to thank Ms. Steffen, Mr. Hennessy, Deputy Chief Wade, Chief Howard, and the department leads for really refining the budget for next year. Next year is going to be a big year for us, definitely around capital improvements with the new police station, the retrofitting of the municipal building, the parking lot on Columbus and Granville, J.R. Smith Park, a large streets repair program, a large parks improvement plan at the reservoir. And I want to say thank you for your stewardship over the past few years, budgeting for these items. It's going to be a big year for us. So thank you to everyone. Many hands, many minds involved in the planning. So thank you very much. With that said, I'll also be at the zoning committee meeting next week. And this is just a basic update. This isn't a committee we have, but the BZA did meet this week. I listened to that meeting. I highly encourage every council member to go back and listen to this week's BZA meeting and prior, if you would like to. A little bit different pace and tempo with that particular board. And I think I'll be attending those in the future just to keep my hand on the pulse of what's going on in the BZA. An issue was requested, I believe it was initially a 10-foot fence in the backyard, and then it maybe got lowered to an 8-foot fence. But there were only 4 members there. 1 vote voted no, so the motion did not pass. That's a 6-member board, 2 members were absent. Very interesting. Please listen to that. With that said, we are on to the police report. Deputy Chief Wade. Thank you for being here this evening.
So I apologize for the attire. We've been steadily moving the police department to 32 Sedgwick, the street building behind the soon-to-be new police department at 220 North Columbus. Taken about, I don't know, 30 plus years, and in the last 48 hours, moving that a tip of the cap to some hired hands and helping getting all the desks, because I'm going to tell you, they built desks in the 70s and 80s a lot better than they do now. Fire cabinets and you name it. So that's going on. We're working through some technology challenges. Hopefully we'll be 100% within the next 24 hours. The operations of the police department continues. The officers have been involved in some thwarting of theft offenses here in town. I tip of the cap to our public information officer, Casey Newsom, who has spearheaded some public engagements that we had here recently with Cramley Cruiser, and Kroger, a blood drive here locally, as well as what was the other one? We had the help.
Coffee with a cop.
Well, we did the coffee with a cop, and then we had another one. She definitely got us all in on public engagements here in the last 2 weeks. And then obviously you'll see more of us out here come Halloween trick or treat. There'll be a couple officers out passing out candy. It's been a challenge in this move, but we will continue our services to the city. 9 East Granville will still be the point of public contact. There will not be public interaction at the 32 Sedgwick location. I think that's it, unless you have any questions about the move, the technology stuff. We should have it hopefully ironed out tomorrow and everything back up, hopefully close to at least 85 or 90% run.
Any questions for the police department?
Is the chief happy? Happy?
Happy? Yeah. We're happy. It's just, it's moving. Yeah, it's growing pains and we'll make it work. So
I'm very, very happy to see
appreciate the
it.
support, and it's a small inconvenience of making moves for something greater. So,
It's temporary.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah,
Very happy to see it get underway.
yes,
Looking forward to getting into the big building.
absolutely. Long time coming.
I have a tactical question. How are we doing on flight certifications?
Oh, I apologize. All 4 pilots are 107 certified.
It's great.
I was able to get them into a class up in Akron, which is a hands-on fundamental training class where 2 pilots will be attending tomorrow. Kind of an inconvenient time, but it was a last minute thing. We were able to get them in. So they will have 100% training specifically on the control itself. There's been some other items purchased, like for instance, without going into great detail, it's a software called AirData. What is important about it? It keeps track of everything. If the pilot's flying, it keeps track of the pattern, it keeps track of every joystick movement of the controller. It is an accountability device within itself. If there's any kind of error with it, it keeps track of, like the black box, basically in an airplane. So like we had hoped for Halloween, we should have our pilots readily available.
Good job. That's exciting.
Thank you very much for the update. Thank you for being here. All right, we're on the administrator report. Mr. Hennessy.
All right, so just a couple of things just confirmed with Amber. We will be putting out public communications or communications to the public regarding the moves as soon as we are fully operational in the temporary location. So people, still show up at the municipal building and we're still serving them. So like I said, there's been no shutdown of operations during this period of time. So thank you to the police department. They were very efficient about getting out of the space, which actually is going to be tremendously helpful to us to get down into that space. So should be done here. Well, we'll be done before next week. A couple of other items to note, signage and seating improvements. I did want to share with the council members that we do have additional Ohio to Erie Trail signs up to kind of help navigate from down in Vernon up Vernon, Cherry, down Cherry, back onto the trail. So thank you to many people who've been involved in helping getting the signs and get them up. Maybe a little bit longer than it needed to take, but they are there and they're great. So and the other thing is Amber has, if you haven't noticed, the 2 benches are now, one here on the square, one over next to the municipal building. Those are ADA accessible benches. Yeah, they are in place and ready to be used. So thank you to the public health for the grant. 2023 street program. I assure you, we are getting to the final phases of the 2023 project.
What was the deadline? I thought it was this month, wasn't it?
October 15th.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's,
Did they meet the deadline?
no,
It's the 18th.
no,
There's not lines on the street.
there are not lines on the street. And our loops, again, I think the loops go in tomorrow, I think is the latest update I got from our inspector on that. So little disappointed in terms of the contractor and the contractor's schedule on this. So I've already talked to our inspector about doing a debrief at the end. So we'll be, I think, a little more prepared next year. So The lining is all that is left to do. that and the loops. So basically the signals that, or basically send a message to the signals so that it changes, based upon traffic.
Route 3 and Granville and where it meets Miller by UDF. I know my wife's been talking to me about it for probably 3 weeks. Hey, there's something wrong with the lake timing. Yeah, we all know. Because there's no active sensor, so it's in default mode.
Yeah, it is.
I mean,
That's right.
more or less
That's right.
a cycle that runs all day.
Yep,
So, but
that's right.
that will become dynamic again in the very near future.
Yep, exactly. Leaf collection program has started this week. So we do have in the packet the schedule. So if you have any questions about that, let us know. And the last item I've got on here, a little bit of a technical issue, but it's important, I think, for council to understand this. We did have a staff and CT consultants meeting with the Ohio EPA. We have been pushing hard to get the NPDES permit modification approved. That will allow the plant to be expanded from 1.1 million to 2 million gallons per day. And it also we have to get that permit modification before they'll issue a permit to install to allow us to actually do the construction. The other thing, the important thing I think we learned is that we've got to have both of those in place before we can go out to bid on the expansion of the wastewater treatment plant. So this was technical in nature. The questions that they were asking, we could, I think, easily answer. So we'll continue to keep you posted on this. It's important that we're having this conversation. I know CT has been pushing hard on the Ohio EPA to have this meeting. So we'll keep you posted, like I said. That's it, unless there are any questions.
I don't have any questions, but it just made me think, I think we're talking about potentially paving that street on our wastewater treatment plant.
Yeah, so
Middle
Middleview, yeah, that's a great point. We definitely have a stormwater issue there, but have we landed on what the street improvement would be?
We haven't gotten
Yeah.
there yet, but we do need to do improvements at storm sewer on the corner of Middleview and Southview there.
But I think your point is, let's make sure we're coordinating that so that when construction vehicles are going in and out, we're not tearing up a road that we just put in.
Exactly. Yeah. Maybe wait a year on that street. I mean, definitely take the storm sewer, but we don't want to tear up our investment.
Yeah. Yep.
Heavy equipment.
Yep.
All right. Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
These meetings are very beneficial, by the way. Great update. All right, you're on to the engineer's report, Mr. Whiting.
Thank you, Mayor and members of council. I won't go through very much of a summary. A lot of things have been covered today. I did want to note that there's a lot of things on here or a lot of things that aren't on here that we're doing. So I encourage you, if there's something that's on your mind, please ask me questions or call me offline. So the Reservoir Park, well, you'll see later in the evening that we got one bid on that, a successful bid. And thankfully it was Iron Sight, a local company that happy to have them involved. So I'm sure we'll talk about that later, unless you've got questions now. We did the lift station at Sunbury Mills, got the grant for that upgrade, and we successfully bid that out, and we'll have that working soon. It's a pretty minor project, but it is part of the wastewater treat expansion. Officially, it's 43,500 or somewhat very close to that. Mr. Hennessy talked about the 2023 street program, and we are working diligently on the 2024 and slowly putting together some refined estimates and opinions. Ravines at Meadows and into the development projects at Ravines at Meadows. We did get a second submittal on that. We also had a slight modification to the first phase. They needed to modify a head wall based on some grading issues. Not a big deal, but we did have to approve it and do a review of it. Price Ponds and Rolling Hills. We're working on the punch lists there so we can ultimately get to acceptance. The major focus there, I think based on our history is that lot 2275 and Legacy Trail connections and some of the water features and to make sure we get those straightened out. I'll actually be walking the site tomorrow if anybody wants to meet me tomorrow morning.
Murray? You may do that. Okay. I
Um,
don't think Murray has anything going on any Thursday.
Right, that's right in your backyard, isn't it, Mr. Neff?
Will be.
I believe I mentioned at the last meeting that Kittner Crossing is potentially undergoing some changes to change from condominiums to fee simple lots. Really not much change in the site itself, but the type of project is changing a little bit. And lastly, next to lastly, we did get the preliminary plan submitted for the bank at the Kroger Center, and I've reviewed that preliminary plans, and we'll see that at the next P and Z meeting on Monday.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch them on the Kittner Crossing. What was changing from condos to what? I'm sorry.
They're looking at the developer that had one kind of project, which was condominium project.
Yeah.
Owned, but you don't own the lot, you own the building.
Right. Okay.
These fee simple type of arrangements is there's actually a lot line, and the lot line is a zero distance between many of the units, but
Okay.
they will actually own the lot.
I got you.
Pay taxes like a regular.
Gotcha.
fee.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Appreciate that.
And actually it's an improvement because they're looking some better public improvements that I think will be an enhancement to the project. We just have some details to work out.
Thank you.
Yep. Did you have some, Mr. Hennessy?
No, that's good.
Okay, all right. That's it, sir.
All right, thank you.
I have one question about the Legacy Trail. I think if you're refresh my memory, if you would, the ball is in their court in terms of telling us and designing the number of culverts and the boardwalk locations, right?
The ball is in their court. I'd say it's a little bit informal, so as a result of what I do tomorrow and do some additional inspection, I'll write a formal memo to firm that up, because we do have the notes from the meeting that you and Mr. Hennessy and Alex and I went on. And we provided those and made some suggestions, and it's, crickets since then, but we'll get that better firmed up shortly.
Very good. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Just so everybody's aware, I mean, if you take Price Ponds, for example, this happens in all neighborhoods. As phases are complete, there's certain things that need to be inspected before the public infrastructure gets handed over to the city. So think like roads, sewer lines, storm sewer. As construction's happening, it may have passed like an initial inspection, but if, a concrete truck busts a curb or something like that, that would show up in an inspection report. With Price Ponds in particular, if you think of the east side of the property and the west side, there's two pieces of Price Ponds that are actually going to be dedicated to the city. One is the Legacy Woods that backs up to General Rosecrans, approximately 20 acres of woods. The Legacy Trail is what it's referred to. That would be an improvement that we're requiring before we accept it. It's kind of like they hold up their end of the deal, then we accept it and we take ownership of it. Tree maintenance, trail maintenance, all those things. The other one is on the west side of the property. It's called lot 2275. And that includes a storm detention basin, a future area for where a roundabout is going to be at the corner of Cheshire and Golf Course Road. And ultimately that's going to be deeded over to the city, including active recreation space and some other things. So, I mean, for lack of a better term, it's a park. It will be maintained by the HOA, I believe. Is that correct? We'll find out. I'm pretty sure it's going to be maintained by the HOA. We're going to push for that. And, it'll be a park amenity and infrastructure improvement.
And it's also part of a connection to Magnolia
Right.
development there next to the school.
Good update, Mr. Whited. Any questions or comments for Mr. Whited? All right, we are on to resolutions, no third readings. We do have a second reading, resolution number 2023.25, a resolution approving the adoption of the 2023 Delaware County Multi-Hazard Mitigation Plan. Mr. Hennessy, thank you for sending out the action items, I believe is what they were referred to. There were approximately 90. I've gotten through maybe the first 42. They all seem right to me. Do you have anything you want to add, Mr. Anderson?
No, I was just gonna say that's the addition that you see in the packet this meeting. Or if you had requested the action items that reference either the city of Sunbury or the municipalities. So that's what's in the packet. So if you had questions about any of them, let me know. It does have our Walnut Street improvement on there, and it does talk about some improvements regarding our the up-ground reservoirs, which we've been working on pretty actively as well. So we don't need action on this evening, so there's still time to ask questions.
Any questions on the action items? What number are you up to, Damon?
1.
Remember, we're not obligated to do anything. These are part of the plan that are applicable to Sunbury. The way they were framed up to me, if we do some of these things, it potentially opens us up to apply for grants for these specific things. A lot of these are public engagement type items, like, you know, create a program around engaging the community around the flood risks and things like that. Microorganism management. These are all like risks that exist, but we aren't obligated to do anything. I guess what I'm trying to say is I'm comfortable approving our portion of the plan. Does anybody feel like we need another reading on this particular approval of the Delaware County Multi-Hazard Mitigation Plan?
I do not comfortable.
Okay, so this is a resolution, and it looks like I will make a motion to suspend the rules. Second by Mr. Grumney. Discussion, roll call.
Mayor St. John,
Yes.
Mr. Grumney,
Yes.
Mr. Martin,
Yes.
Mrs. Cooper. Yes. Mr. Neff,
Yes.
Mr. Ghost,
Yes.
Mr. Capel.
Yes.
7 yeas.
All right, thank you. I will make a motion on the resolution number 2023.25.
Second.
Second by Mr. Grumney. Discussion. Roll call.
Mayor St. John,
Yes.
Mr. Grumney,
Yes.
Mr. Martin,
Yes.
Mrs. Cooper. Yes. Mr. Neff,
Yes.
Mr. Ghost,
Yes.
Mr. Capel.
Yes.
7 yeas.
Right. We're on to first readings, resolution number 2023.26. A resolution awarding the contract for the Sedgwick Avenue Park and Reservoir Improvements Project to Ironsight Inc. First reading?
Yeah, I was gonna say just a little bit more. You can see that the bid that we received was $341,341.22. That is a little bit higher than the probable estimate of costs. This does not include the alternate, which was a second dock at the reservoir, but it does deal with the other public improvements to the park related to fishing and the like, and then also the safety issues on the dam side,
including one floating dock.
It does have one float. Yes, it has one floating dock there. Yep. Based on this bid, I have reached out to the contractor regarding a few pricing issues. He's doing some additional research, so I don't think we're ready yet to act on it. So hopefully we will have feedback on that at the next meeting.
I'm assuming if we pass it the next meeting or the one following, still plenty of time.
Yeah,
To satisfy the grant, getting the
the
ground broken.
Right. The contractor has assured me that if council were to act at the next meeting, that would be adequate time for them to mobilize by the end of the year, which is the contract requirement for the grant money.
All right. Any other questions or comments on resolution 2023.26? All right, we are on to ordinances. We have no third readings, no second readings. We do have a first reading on ordinance number 2023.01.2, second amended. And this is around an ordinance amending the 2023 annual appropriations. I should have asked this during finance, and maybe Mr. Hennessy can answer this. Do we need an approval this evening? And my other question is there any other risk that we're going to do another amended where we just can only do one amended for the rest of the year?
I think this should be it to answer your second question. I
Thank
don't anticipate any additional. For your first question, it does not need to be passed tonight. A second reading would follow. Have a second reading would be good.
So do we need to ask Mr. Breve to add emergency language to it then before the next meeting?
I don't know if emergency language is necessary, but.
If we're passing it early, it requires emergency language, doesn't it?
I'll double check, but I don't think your appropriation ordinances do. I think.
Oh, okay.
Exception to the ordinance rules.
All right,
Normally they do versus resolutions.
Right, yeah.
I think this type doesn't. We'll double check that.
okay.
Thank you very much. All right, we are on to new and unfinished business. Sunbury Real Estate Holdings LLC, first addendum to the settlement agreement. Daryl or Mr. Bream, who's going to take the lead on this?
This is the settlement agreement regarding the Vernon Street matters. Specifically, that part of the street was never dedicated. We entered into a settlement agreement. There was subsequent discussions amongst the parties about the terms of that agreement. Specifically, there was language in there about consolidating a parcel and the delegation of duties and responsibilities and costs associated with that. As a resolution, this says that we will pay for a boundary survey. CT is ready and willing to get that on their schedule and get that done. This also allows for a further payment, progress payment to be made. It allows our payment, our paving responsibility to be delayed to coincide with next year's pavement schedule. Other than that, it does allow us to finalize this agreement. It's been around for a long time. We're looking forward to get it done. Staff has approved it. Legal has approved it. We're looking for a motion and a vote to approve this tonight. The property owner has already signed the addendum, and his counsel has approved it as well. So if we can get this approved tonight, we can move forward and get this matter behind us.
So will this mean the disappearance of the speed bump?
We will own the street, and once we own the street, we'll look at what needs to be done. Certainly, we need to pave it, and that's one of the
Right.
commitments that we made. We'll need to talk with our paving people and see what their thoughts are about
Okay, thank you.
specific elements of the paving project.
In the agreement, if I'm not mistaken, the paving approximate timings like spring, like April next year.
Actually, we're able to, that was just a placeholder that our attorney had put in the document. So when I told him that, we could do that, that would require us to do a separate paving project because we can never pave in the spring because our money, our grant money isn't even available to us until the summer. So we're always paving like this year now, September, October. So no, the applicant was fine, the property was fine. We can just put it in the next year's paving program. It was in this year's paving program. We just weren't able to get this addendum finalized in time to get it done this year. So we'll do it next year. So it's good news. We don't have to do a separate project.
Yes.
Make a motion for approval.
Go ahead. I'll wait for discussion.
Second by Mr. Capel. Discussion?
I was just gonna say, it's been a long time coming. I'm so glad that we finally reached a compromise,
I'm sure both sides would like to see this behind it.
without a doubt. Thank you.
Any other comment? Roll call.
Mayor St. John.
Yes.
Mr. Capel.
Yes.
Mr. Coast.
Yes.
Mr. Neff.
Yes.
Mr. Grumney.
Yes.
Mrs. Cooper. Yes. Mr. Martin.
Yes.
7 yeas.
All right, we are on to sanitary sewer emergency generator. There's a quote that needs approval on page 36 of your agenda. Mr. Whited or Mr. Hennessy, would you mind speaking to this?
Yeah, Dan had alluded to this in his report. We had received a grant award to purchase an emergency generator. We'd actually tried to apply for additional generators. We did get funding for one. What you have in front of you then is a quote to install a generator at the Sunbury Mills pump station. That's been a problem pump station for us. And so this quote is the lowest bid, but it also is a contractor who can deliver it within the next 30 days. So staff is recommending that you authorize us to move forward with the purchase of this and get that installed.
Make a motion.
I'll second that version.
Got a second by Councilwoman Cooper. Discussion?
With or without the gas line?
We want to include the gas line, right?
Okay.
Thank you.
In the funding, this comes out of the sewer fund, right?
Yeah, but we have a grant for this. So yeah, I mean, it'll require an upfront payment, but again, we'll seek reimbursement and get that from, I think it's the Ohio EPA. Is that right?
It is.
The Ohio EPA. Yep.
Pollution control.
Okay, yep.
Great news, free money. And this pump station in particular, in heavy rain events, I mean, not only has caused issues, but I mean, it's like almost has to have a full-time person kind of standing there, hitting the button, hey, run. Hey, run. And they have to bring out portable generators and things. So this permanent generator is a huge upgrade.
Yeah, I will add to that point, Mr. Wampler, the city's wastewater plant operator, is very enthusiastic about this project and great.
Excellent. Did we get a passage or are we still on?
We were discussing. Are we ready for a vote?
Okay, roll call.
Mayor St. John,
Yes.
Mrs. Cooper.
Yes.
Mr. Capel,
Yes.
Mr. Ghost,
Yes.
Mr. Neff,
Yes.
Mr. Grumney,
Yes.
Mr. Martin,
Yes,
7 yeas.
Right. And I'd asked Mr. Hennessy to provide an informational update on the limited industrial zoning district. Again, this has gone to the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. This is a brand new zoning code. It went through public hearing, passed unanimously. And one of the first steps that we did with the Planning and Zoning Commission was to get an overview of what we're trying to accomplish with the code. There is the code that has been approved by the Planning and Zoning Commission and will come to this body in a public hearing on November 1st. So Mr. Hennessy, with that.
Yeah, so just a little bit of an introduction for you. So as the mayor said, at the next meeting, we will have the consultant from CT who has been helping us draft this document. So she will be available to help answer questions and also provide a deeper briefing than what I'm going to do here. But as the mayor indicated, the Planning and Zoning Commission has recommended approval of a limited industrial zoning district. I've indicated that, help us support and encourage new technology-based economic development opportunities in the city. We do have other zoning ordinance or zoning districts that you might think, could serve this purpose. We have a neighborhood office, we have commercial, we have planned commercial, we have industrial and planned industrial, but none of those would address the type of and the scale of development that I think we're trying to target with this limited industrial district. So while it may be, we may think of it as primarily a technology-based district, it does allow for a lot of uses. I've indicated some of them here. So research and development, data centers, industrial design, light intensity production, headquarters or professional offices, industrial flex space. There's in the packet, you'll see, actually the packet page number is on packet page 40. We do have a table that includes all of the eligible uses as well as a few restricted and conditional uses as well. So I just highlighted a few of them. Another thing I would note that as you look at this district, you'll also notice we did include some images in the text as well, or to accompany the text. That is different than our current zoning district or current zoning code is outlined. And that's meant to basically help you and help users begin to kind of visualize what this space should look like from a design perspective. So that is a newer trend in zoning districts or zoning codes. And so we've incorporated that here. So a couple of important things to note. It is meant for primarily undeveloped lots of at least 200 contiguous acres. So these are large parcels of land that we're talking about for this particular type of zoning. There is a provision that allows for additional land to be added once a 200-acre parcel has been identified. So each one doesn't have to be 200 acres. You can build upon that 200 as long as it's the same ownership, common ownership, building on any land that they might have or building upon the area that they might have. There is also a provision in there that does allow the Planning and Zoning Commission to waive this. In fact, that's a provision that exists for really any of the standards in the district. The Planning and Zoning Commission would be the group that would approve variant or divergences just like they do now. But that said, this is meant to be a district in which the standards are spelled out in the zoning code itself. So we would anticipate there would be fewer divergences, that people will follow the standards that are in this document. And this is supposed to raise the standard for development in the city. A couple of other development standards to note. So while the area to be designated has to be at least 200 acres,
any development within that can be a minimum of 3 acres. So there could be multiple buildings on a 200-acre site, for example. It does require some significant setbacks from state routes, major and minor arterials, at least 250 feet. In the purpose statement for the limited industrial district zone, it talks about it's the desire to promote an industrial park atmosphere in a rural setting. So as a result of that, trying to just push it back off the street a little bit more, but it also does allow for taller buildings than anything else that's permitted in our code. It does allow up to an 85-foot building, but anything over 65 feet you have to push the building back away from the road further. And then there are also setbacks, although not as great when you get to the collector streets that might be in whatever this area is defined. We have asked in the zoning district to consider regional stormwater management planning so that you have fewer stormwater systems out there or detention basins out there or retention basins. So we'll see. That's an attempt to kind of get a more regional strategy moving forward. We have indicated that parking cannot be in front of the building. We've addressed the issues of design and materials. I think consistent with what we've heard from the council in the past, that you want brick, stone, masonry, composite wood materials. You want good, high quality materials on the front of the facade, and that's a requirement that you'll see in the proposed zoning code. We do ask that they screen rooftop mechanicals. That's probably not surprising. There is an opportunity to add accessory structures to the site. And one of those accessory structures could be a building that's in front of the main building, but that's a very small building for a security shack or something like that. So that's the one exception. And then the other thing, I finally just say that, the landscaping, tree preservation, trails, and nuisance standards added by the Planning Commission at the last one, those are all at or above the city's current standards. So sort of trying to push those standards up to what you've already indicated is a minimum of what you want to see. With that, I will say, again, that's just a very brief introduction. We're excited about the opportunity to present this to council, and we'll have a lot more detail at the next meeting. We'll also have the public hearing at that as well. So we'll hear from the public. Yep, that's it.
Great update. Any questions or comments? Great work on this. Thank you, Mr. Breen, Mr. Hennessy, ET Consultants, total team effort. And then the Planning and Zoning Commission was very engaged in this. I would encourage you to go back and listen to the meeting from the Planning and Zoning Commission, and then please read through the code. You may be aware that this particular code is also tied to an economic development incentive agreement that we have with the school district, directly tied in there. It's only applicable for this particular zoning district. So the school board and Sunbury work together in a very proactive fashion, and we need to move this forward. We believe we have active users that are ready to come to Sunbury, and we're very excited about that. With that said, any other comments or questions? All right, we are on to new and unfinished business. Mr. Ghost.
Nothing here, sir.
All right, Mr. Crumley. Mr. Capel, nothing. I beat you to it. Trick or treat, October 31st. Coming up. 6 to 8 p.m. in Sunbury.
Thank you.
Good.
Nothing to add.
All right. Do you have anything?
I was just it's not really new business. I was just gonna share with council, because the mayor had declared in September Pediatric Cancer Awareness Month, and then the Galena Fall Gathering was to help raise funds for pediatric cancer. And then there was an event in Sunbury this past weekend, and it was put on by Rock Solid Foundation. I'm not sure if you've ever heard of them. It's like this organization that they focus in kids with pediatric cancer, and what their specialty is they build a play set for a child who has pediatric cancer. And they do, it reminded me very much of like Habitat for Humanity, if you ever did that as a kid or anything. This company, Rock Solid, comes in and they have everything ready for you, and it's divided up. I think there was about 50 people, maybe. They had everything divided up into like 7 groups of like how to build your play set. And there was, I don't know what they were called, like a fire, it wasn't fire truck, but it was like
Or like a fire support.
like a fire support team was there, and they had hot coffee and hot chocolate and stuff. And then the team told everybody about this little girl that we were going to make the play set for. And then they, like in high school PE, they numbered us off 1, 2, 3, and then we all divided up separately into 7 different groups. They had instructions for you. They wrote in red when we should stop and read the directions. They provided all the materials, everything you needed, they provided. And within like a couple hours, like it was like you start with all of these materials and just a set of instructions. And then within a few hours, like you have 7 different structures. They put them all together. We made this play set. They bring this little girl in like a black SUV, you know, like real special for her and her family. And then when she gets there, not only does she have this play set, but she saw 50 people supported her, and they had all of us sign our names on the play set. And then they instructed the parents to take pictures of everyone's names. That way, when they're in the hospital and they're having a hard day, they can swipe through all their pictures. And they said, look, you know, like, you got this, Amelia, and things like that, you know. And they had, I don't remember everybody, so I don't remember everybody out, but like the Otterbein basketball girls were there. And I think maybe somebody from OSU, I don't know everybody that was there. And there's community members were there too. And it was a really special event, and it was very emotional. A lot of grown-ups crying. But it was a really sweet, it's always good to be involved. I always like being involved in something that's bigger than myself. And it just felt really appropriate with all the pediatric cancer awareness that the council's been doing. And I thought you guys might like to hear about it. Sounds cool. That's all I have to say. Yeah.
Thanks for that.
Yeah.
Martin. I had an interesting discovery after the last meeting. I was proofreading ballots at the Board of Elections, and I discovered that there's a precinct in Sunbury where the people that vote in that precinct not only vote for Sunbury City Council, but they also vote for Berkshire Township trustees because of the type of annexation that took place. And we were kind of baffled by it, and had quite a conversation with the director at the Board of Elections. And so if you hear from somebody that you know that says, I got this ballot and it had all this stuff on it, it's supposed to be there. It is okay to have that. It's a type 2 annexation, and that they still pay property tax to Berkshire Township, but they pay other taxes to Sunbury, so they get to vote on both representatives from both political subdivisions.
Right. Yeah, we do have a few precincts like that. I was going to mention.
Yeah.
Where's that located, by the way? Can you tell us?
Yeah, Price Ponds, Rolling Hills. That's one. And then there's a couple other that are out around the freeway as well. But Davey did a good job explaining.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm actually one of the ones.
I think that it may exist a little bit with Trenton Township too, doesn't it, Mr. Are you aware of any with Trenton Township?
I'm not aware of any in Trenton. I do know we have a few little outliers, like the lot on South Oak Greasy on the way to Galena. The last one when he annexed in. Was part of that. I'm not sure of any Trenton ones. There could be though, Dave. I mean,
Right.
You know, that type 2 annexation's been in effect since 2001.
Mm-hmm.
When that annexation law change was contemplated, there was a big rush to annex because everybody thought this was going to be the end of your ability to annex easily. It was completely the opposite. Annexations were much harder prior to 2001 than what they are now. But because of that, there was a rush to annex. So a lot of the property that we have that is potentially being developed, and that would include all the Nestle property, which has been, let's face it, really 80–90% of the development of residential homes over the past 15 years has been from there. And that was pre 2001. So you don't have it there. It's only these newer developments primarily where we're gonna see it. And that would be Rolling Hills and
Right.
and Bryce Ponds. But there was a lot of new houses there,
Yeah.
including, as the mayor said, you know, lives in that neighborhood. So interesting result. They're not excluded from the township. Townships retain their tax base, which is a big rub. You know, they're
Right.
taking our taxes. Well, no, you still retain your taxes.
Yeah.
But as a result, they have a right to vote.
And I remember when that occurred, when it started coming about, and there was a lot of discussion, but people retained their right to vote in both political subdivisions, so.
Don't run for township trustee.
I was about to ask, does that mean that we could run for
You
president?
think about switching?
Yeah.
I don't think you should serve on that, and I don't know if that's a fact or not.
Looking for something else to
Dave,
do.
I'm really glad you brought that up. Daryl, Dave and I were looking at this week. I've actually talked to two township trustees, one in Trenton, one in Berkshire over the past 24 hours. And we both were talking about this and, yeah, I think in general, I don't want to speak on their behalf, but it's a little bit of, you know, working together to an extent. I mean, listen, we all have a vested interest in this community. You may be like Sunbury proper, but you still have a vested interest in what goes on in Berkshire or Trenton or anywhere else, because you're taxpayers and you're voting them. So, yeah, it's interesting.
Thank you for bringing that up.
Anything else, Mr. Martin?
No, that'll do it.
All right, Mr. Neff? Nothing to report. All right, I don't have anything else, so I believe we're adjourned. Anything from staff? All right, make a motion to adjourn. Second by Mr. Grumney. Discussion? Roll call.
Mayor St. John,
Yes.
Mr. Grumney,
Yes.
Mr. Martin,
Yes,
Mrs. Cooper. Yes. Mr. Neff,
yes.
Mr. Bills,
Yes.
Mr. Capel,
Yes.
7 yeas, we are adjourned.
Thank you.